The program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Shelley's Show and Tell with your host, Shelley Hancock. Shelley has been a licensed esthetician since 1988 and successful skincare center owner since 1990, who now spends much of her time mentoring fellow estheticians in creating profitable businesses. Shelley will explore and recommend proven business ideas, as well as show you how to use the law of attraction to create health, happiness, and a prosperous business. Now, here's your host, Shelley Hancock.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome. You're listening to Shelley's Show and Tell. I'm your host, Shelley Hancock, and that's Shelley with an EY. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have been so excited about today's show, you guys, for two reasons. First, today is my 1-year anniversary from my very first broadcast. It's hard to believe that it's been a full year already. It went so fast. Because of all of you listening so regularly, my rankings at Voice America are really high, and that makes me feel very special. To see that exact number, please visit my website at shelleyhancock.com. I want to thank you all so very much for your continued support. The second reason why I'm so excited about today's show is because I have a very special guest with me today, Bill Harris, and he can only join me for about 30 minutes or so, so I'm not going to ramble too much here so we can make the most of that time. I do need to give you a little background about Bill first, though, and also about my connection with Bill. Bill has been involved in personal development for nearly 40 years as a seeker, teacher, public speaker, author, musician, composer, therapist, workshop leader, and business owner. Bill is a longtime student of the brain and current brain research, contemporary psychology, the evolution of non-linear systems, meaning the chaos theory, and the effects of the wide range of neurotechnologies on human change and evolution. He is the founder and CEO of Centerpoint Research Institute and the creator of Holosync audio technology, used by well over 2 million people, including me, in 193 countries. Based on research at Mount Sinai Medical Center and the world-famous Menninger Clinic, Holosync calms the brain's limbic system, enhances the prefrontal cortex, that's a mouthful, and creates changes in the brain's electric activity, allowing the creation of meditative states, enhanced creativity, increased focus and concentration, increased willpower, and ability to self-regulate behavior, and many other beneficial mental and emotional capabilities. Bill has a fabulous book out titled The New Science of Super Awareness. Let me repeat that. The New Science of Super Awareness. I am now about halfway through my second time reading his book. There are more highlighted sentences in this book than any other book I've ever read. When I read chapter 5, a light bulb went off, and I immediately made a small tweak that has been life-changing. I kid you not, and I'll share that with you a little later. So, I first heard about Bill Harris and Holosync back in 2009. One day, while I was doing a facial on a client, she started telling me about a meditation that she does daily for 1 hour. Daily for 1 hour, and that she's been doing this religiously every day for 3 years. I'm thinking, really? When does she find the time for 1 hour of meditation a day? And I'm also thinking, how does she get her mind to stay clear for 1 full hour? I can't even do that for 1 minute. She was so enthusiastic, though, about the changes that Holosync had created in her life that I couldn't help but get a little excited myself. So I ordered the free introductory CD, and my husband and I got started, and it has been life-changing. Get this, we've been meditating for 1 hour a day ever since then. We don't miss a day. If we go away on vacation, it goes with us. I've got more to share about my experience with Holosync, but I can share that after we chat with Bill. I want every minute I can get with Bill. So, Bill, are you there?
I am here.
Yay. Thank you so very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me and my fabulous listeners out there.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. Anybody who is making women even more beautiful is doing something good for the world, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Truly, Bill, Holosync has been the best thing that my husband and I have ever done for our personal lives and our business life. It's worked in all areas of our lives. And
well,
I'm sure that you're
been the best thing that I've ever done in my life, too, I'll tell you. That's kind of how it got started.
Well, yeah, your story in your book is absolutely incredible. I'm just so excited to have you here. I'm not sure where to begin with questions, if we just want to even start with, why you feel meditation is so powerful for people, or a little bit about how you got started.
Well, I got started because I grew up, quite frankly, being quite difficult to get along with. I was angry. I was depressed a lot. I was pretty smart and pretty good at things, but I was so difficult to get along with. I had a lot of trouble in life. I drove a lot of people away. I'd had things happen to me when I was growing up that had really, now I know, I didn't know this then, but it had really screwed up my brain. And so I just started doing things I went through a long period of time where my masterful theory was that all of my problems were everyone else's fault.
Yes.
But that theory did not work out very well, and at a certain point I kind of hit bottom and finally said, all this stuff that keeps happening to me, all these problems are my fault, not everybody else's fault. And that's usually the first thing people have to do if they're having problems, is kind of take responsibility for them. It's not like there aren't other things in the world that are difficult, but it's more the way you handle things than what's actually happening. Everybody has tons of things happening that are difficult. I just didn't know how to handle them, and how I affected other people was not on my radar at all. I actually was doing a lot of things to keep people away from me because I was really afraid of people and afraid of getting close and afraid of getting hurt. Although if somebody had asked me in those days, I would have said, no, I'm not afraid of anything, and somebody else's fault. But at any rate, when I finally hit bottom, one of the many things that I did to try to get myself together was I learned how to meditate. And being sort of a type A personality, I was very devoted to it and did it very regularly for quite a long time. And it helped, but fast forwarding to about 16 years later, I was still pretty unhappy. And about that time, I ran into some research that kind of caused me to create this Holosync audio technology that you've been talking about, that you and your husband used. One piece of research was that the scientists discovered what electrical patterns that meditators were making when they were meditating. So they knew that in the 1970s. And then I read this rather obscure, geeky article by a researcher at Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York that described, to make a long story short, it described a way using certain very precise combinations of what are called pure sine wave audio tones that you could change brainwave patterns. So I said, these are the brainwave patterns of meditation. And this is a way, this guy claims anyway, that you can change your brainwave patterns. Could I change them to those of meditation? And if I did that, what would that be like? Would it feel like meditation? Would it get the same results? Would it get even better results since it's technological? And usually technological methods are faster than non-technological methods. You know, you can get to work by walking, but it's sure a lot easier to drive the car.
Yes.
Or take the bus, or take an Uber, or whatever it is you like to do. So anyway, with a few friends, I kind of gathered together some equipment that I didn't know how to use and began to play with it and began to create some audio soundtracks that we could listen to with headphones so that these tones could be targeted at different sides of the brain and so on. And it blew us away. It not only was the experience absolutely amazing, I mean, it just put us in the most relaxed, happy, I don't know, there's a feeling that you get when you do this, that just everything is okay, and that you just feel calm and collected and clear-minded, and it's just quite remarkable. So, you know, we started playing with this, and then we noticed there was more to it than just that it made you feel really good when you did it. Because what happened for me was that all the anger and the fear and the depression and all those things that were a big part of me started to kind of drain away. And people actually started to come up to me. You know, I'd run into somebody I hadn't seen for a couple of years, would run into me, you know, in a store or something like that, and they would say, "Wow, what have you been doing? You're so mellow." And then they'd say, "You know, I always thought you were so intense," which was true. So it really began to change me emotionally. My mental abilities got better. I became more creative. I made better decisions. A lot of bad habits I had just became obviously not something I wanted to do. And even though I knew I didn't want to do them before, I had no control over it before. But suddenly I could just stop doing things that I knew were not right for me.
Bill, can I ask a question, because I'm really curious. So if you meditated for so many years before this, why do you think all those things didn't change from the meditation you did before, but now doing this, the holosync, the changes happen so quickly?
Well, this technological method really accelerates things. We've been doing this now. I've been doing it for almost 31 years,
wow.
And we have 2.2 million people all over the world, 193 countries, who have been using holosync and giving us feedback. And everyone is going through similar experiences, but we kind of guesstimate at this point that, believe it or not, an hour of holosync is worth about 8 hours of traditional meditation.
Wow.
I know many people who are long-time traditional meditators, and you find somebody that's been meditating for 40 years or 30 years or something, and they have this serenity, this clear-mindedness, this compassion for other people, all kinds of really enviable qualities, but it took them a long time to get there. Holosync allows you to get there a lot faster. And so that's what started happening. And what, through word of mouth, other people heard about this. And then more and more people were contacting me and saying, "Hey, I'd like to try this too." And so I was making these soundtracks for other people. And about 4 years after we first started doing this, there were about 150 people maybe across the U.S. and in Europe also who were using this. And then independently, actually, a number of them started saying to me, "You need to create a kind of a structured way to use this and make it available to people. Start a little company." And I had no ambition to have a company particularly. And when I thought about it, I thought, well, I was making about $30,000 a year at the time, and I thought, wow, wouldn't that be cool if I could make another $30,000 a year doing this? That would double my income. That would be unbelievable. And
little did you know.
Now, well, yeah, because so far we've sold over $160 million worth of Holosync.
Wow.
And usually 30,000 comes in by lunchtime every day. But so at any rate, it really, with all the other people too, they had their own version of the same story I had. I went from being pretty darned repellent to people actually liking me, and even more, me liking people. Everywhere I go, I just feel like whoever I'm, with, somebody that I went to the cleaners today, and I went to Whole Foods and got a salad, and, I'm talking to all the people that I'm dealing with, and, finding out what's going on with them, and just, strangers.
Better connection.
And I used to dislike all the strangers. People are listening to this, in their job. They're probably the kind of people that do like people, and that's why they're doing something where they have to relate to people all the time. But I didn't like people. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was really afraid of them. So, at any rate, Holosync is really amazing what it does for people, and you don't have to be screwed up like I was. Just recently, there's been all this new information about the brain. In fact, we're in one of the greatest scientific revolutions ever, and it's a revolution having to do with the brain and how the brain creates your life. And there are several kind of key points that I would like the people listening to get. First of all,
awesome.
The first
Bill,
one is that...
let me just pipe in before you go to those 3 key points. Let's take a really quick break, and then when we come back, let's get into those because I think it's going to be really important. So everyone out there, hang tight. When we return, more about Holosync. I'll see you all on the other side of the break.
Real Transformation Skincare Center in beautiful Capistrano Beach, California offers the latest innovative cutting-edge anti-aging and acne treatments. Owner Shelley Hancock has 28 years of experience in the industry, so with that, you can expect to get results. Visit us on the web today at realtransformationcenter.com. We offer facial treatments, body treatments, and a variety of skincare products. Call us for more information, 949-481-4037 or at www.realtransformationcenter.com.
Tune in every Tuesday for C. diff, spores, and more with hosts Nancy Kerala and Dr. Chandrabali Ghosh. Our program is to provide information about C. diff, healthcare-associated infections, and more. Nancy is a C. diff survivor, healthcare professional, and the founder and executive director of the C. diff Foundation. And Dr. Ghosh is the chairperson of research and development for the C. diff Foundation. Together, with their guests, we'll explore infection prevention, treatments, environmental safety, and more. Listen every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific on Voice America Health and Wellness.
Shelley Hancock Consulting is your trusted aesthetic advisor. Shelley uses her 28 years of experience to help estheticians take their business to the next level. Shelley offers private one-on-one consulting, plus training workshops, aesthetic equipment sales, skincare products, and business success tips just for you and your business. Please visit www.shelleyhancock.com to find out more or to help you transform your skincare business. That's Shelley with an EY, Hancock.com.
You are listening to Shelley's Show and Tell. To reach our show today, please call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or feel free to email contactme@shelleyhancock.com. Now, back to Shelley's Show and Tell.
Welcome back to Shelley's Show and Tell. I'm your host, Shelley Hancock, and I've been chatting with Bill Harris from Centerpoint Research about the power of meditation and how to use Holosync to speed up the life changes that meditation can achieve. And Bill was just about to tell us about the 3 key points in this new brain revolution. It's all yours, Bill.
Okay, well, the first point that I want everyone to understand, see, this is a very new perspective on how human beings create and experience their life. And the great thing about it is that it gives you power to create what you want in a way that was just science fiction before. So, at any rate, the first point is that everything about you comes from your brain, begins in your brain. Your moods, your emotional responses, your skills and talents, your happiness, your relationship success or failure, how much willpower you have, and even your degree of financial success you have. All the things that human beings tend to want more of can be achieved by changing the brain in certain ways. And all of the things that people want to get rid of, like anxiety or procrastination or bad habits or, a whole number of other things, they can be eliminated by creating certain changes in other parts of the brain. When you change your brain, you change your life. It used to be that they didn't know that the brain could be changed, but now they do know that the brain can be changed. So that's the first
It's amazing.
point. Everything about you really comes from your brain. And your problems are not problems with your character or you're a bad person or you're innately screwed up in some way. It just means that your brain is not working in an optimal way. The second point is that scientists now know what parts of the brain are involved in each of these things that I mentioned, the positive things and the negative things, and they know how to change those parts of the brain.
Wow.
And that is really revolutionary. The third thing is that there are many new tools available. There are a lot of people like me who are really paying attention to all this new research, there's tons of it coming out all the time. And I've gotten to know lots of these researchers personally. And so there are people that are following this and then taking the information and creating ways for the average person to use it. In many different fields, there are people who are using it that are consultants for companies about leadership or things like that. And then there's people that are doing it in a more personal growth way or emotional healing or enhancing things like creativity and so on and so forth. But anyway, those are the main 3 points that I wanted to at least start with. Everything begins in your brain. Scientists know now how to change the parts of the brain that aren't operating correctly. And there are many tools, Holosync being one of them, that take advantage of these discoveries. So there are really, the way I've been describing this lately, I often say there's a war going on between two major parts of your brain, and which side wins shapes nearly everything in your life. And a good way to describe this, or to get into it, is to describe a really fun and interesting study that was done. It was started in the 1960s. It's still going on, and it's called the marshmallow test. And
marshmallow test, okay?
The marshmallow test. That doesn't sound very scientific, but it actually was. This guy named Walter Mischel at Stanford, he took these little preschool kids, and he put them in a small bare room with a little table, and they sat in a chair at this table, and on the table was a plate, and on the plate they would put some kind of a treat, and one of the treats were marshmallows. And so it became known as the marshmallow test because some reporter used that phrase. And they'd say to this little 4 or 5-year-old, you can have this marshmallow and eat it right now if you want to. But I'm going to leave for a few minutes, and if you can wait till I get back, you can have 2 marshmallows.
Ah.
And they wanted to see who could delay gratification and who couldn't. And some of them could, and a lot of them couldn't. And then they were looking at what strategies they used to delay gratification, and some other very interesting things, but that's not kind of where I'm going with this right now. Then they got the idea to follow these kids as they got older. And in fact, they're still following them, and they're in their 50s and 60s right now. And so, and this test has been duplicated by other people too since then. And here's what they found happened for those who could delay gratification, who could wait for the second marshmallow. They got better grades at school. They had a higher income. They had an average of 210 points higher scores on SAT tests. They had a lower body mass index. In other words, they were less likely to be overweight. They had more friends. They had better relationships, better cognitive function. They were more intelligent. They made better decisions, more self-control. They were better able to resist temptation. They were less distractible. They were more self-reliant, had more trust in their own judgment. They were less easily rattled or disorganized. They were resilient when they had setbacks, and they had a quality of being able to set and pursue and reach long-term goals. And they had less drug use, bad habits, addictive behaviors, and so on and so forth.
That's a lot, Bill.
Who wouldn't want all of those things?
Yeah.
So then, in right around 2000, brain scanning equipment became prevalent, and they said, let's scan the brains of these people and find out what's happening in their brain, see if there's something different in their brain. And what they found was that these people who could delay gratification, when I said that list, what I didn't say was that those who couldn't delay gratification had kind of the opposite side of the coin. They didn't do well in school. They didn't have very good incomes. Their relationships were more stormy, and so on and so forth, without going through the whole list again. So at any rate, when they did the brain scans, they found that there were two parts of the brain, especially, that were contrasting in these people. The ones that had the ability to delay gratification, the ones that had a lot of willpower, they had a very strong prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex was larger than that in the ones that couldn't delay gratification. I'll talk a little bit about what the prefrontal cortex does in a minute. They also had calm and smaller limbic systems, whereas the ones that could not delay gratification had smaller, less effective prefrontal cortexes and overactive limbic systems. So let me then describe what these two parts of the brain are involved in, and you'll see why this is so
amazing,
important.
yeah,
and why it's so cool that you can change these parts of the brain, because most of the things that happen, either having the good side of this or the bad side of this, it used to be thought that there's very little you can do about it. And even though there's courses you can take and books you can read and stuff like going to therapists or whatever, most of that stuff has limited ability to really change these things until more recently. So at any rate, the limbic system is the source of what is called the fight or flight stress response, which is a survival mechanism.
Okay.
When you have something life-threatening, it's very good to be able to have that. In today's modern world, though, people go into a fight-or-flight response as if their survival is at stake because they can't find their cell phone. Or, somebody cuts them off in traffic, or somebody says something snotty to them, or, whatever it happens to me, everybody can think of their own examples about stuff that sets you off and kind of throws you into either fight, being aggressive, or flight, where you freeze or want to get away or hide be alone or whatever. Shut down, And so the other thing, when you're in fight or flight, your body makes all these stress hormones, such as cortisol, and there are others, that are worth having when you're in a survival situation. But when you have them chronically, as almost everybody does, it's very bad for your health. Most health problems, including being overweight and all kinds of other life-threatening things, are caused by all these stress hormones, which create inflammation in the body and